Hello everybody and welcome back. Today's video about my tools is about microscopes, and yeah, sometimes you need microscopes just because you can't see what is important, and sometimes you want to take an even closer look, and that is when a microscope becomes really useful. So like in this case, what you're seeing right here is an Intel flash chip, and quite often these would be counterfeit. Although it would say Intel on the front, it would not say so on the chip itself. And with this one right here, you can actually see copyright Intel 1977. So this here is a legit but very outdated flash chip. Now, microscopes themselves come in many different flavors these days, and I have a few of them. I have new microscopes, I have old microscopes, I have broken microscopes, and for what it's worth, most of the time I like to use one of these small handhelds. They used to be used for record player styluses. You would just hold the stylus up against the end. You would peer into the microscope and you'd see if the stylus was still good. And for very simple uses of making electronics, you could take a look at traces and see if they were broken and things like that. But nowadays these new microscopes are of course a lot better, a lot more useful, and in fact they are a lot more convenient to use. There are very big differences in quality of microscopes. You can get one that has like 1 megapixel. You can get one that has 12 or 50 megapixels, but that will register in the price pretty quickly. So, for example, this here is the Andonstar ADSM302. It is, in my opinion, it's a really good one at what it can do, although also, in my opinion, it is being advertised as something which is not. So let's just have a look at this one. On the positives, it does have a very big base, so you can fit larger PCBs under here. The microscope is always at 90 degrees to the object you're looking at, which is kind of a, well, it's sort of a drawback. Some microscopes you can actually tilt to about 20 to 30 degrees, so you're not looking directly from the top, but slightly from the side. And if you're doing rework on electronic parts on PCBs, that makes it slightly easier to see bad solder joints or pads that have come loose off chips. This one doesn't have this. The Andonstar is also advertised as being able to take 12 megapixel photos, and that is just wrong. This thing has a 3 megapixel sensor and it will have 3 megapixels resolution. They're just making the picture bigger, which I think is kind of a, I don't understand why they're doing this. If the sensor is 3 megapixels, the resolution of the picture should be stated as 3 megapixels always. It doesn't make sense to tell anybody, oh yeah, we've got a 12 megapixel still, but in reality it's just not, because somebody could could get the idea, oh, I can just buy this and I can take pictures of a flash chip from the top and I can use software to reverse engineer the contents of the chip. Yeah, you could do that if you had 12 megapixels, but not with 3. It's just not going to work. And it's going to be a pain anyway. But what I do like of the Andonstar, here I have a second one. This one is borrowed from the place where I work on the weekends. And the second one here kind of had a watery incident as it was left outside in the rain for an entire day. And it got soaked up so bad that all the silica gel in there just couldn't help it. And it's kind of stained everywhere. Well, no matter. I'm probably going to get... This is misted up right now. It just won't focus. But I'll get it fixed somehow. What I like about these ones is, first of all, they have an extremely long focal length. You can mount the microscope like the way it is now, like this. But you could also mount it like this. Or you can mount it even higher up, because this thing will focus down from about 80 centimeters to 1 meter. So the focal length is absolutely excellent on these things. I've never had anything that was just quite like it. Also, I like a lot that they do have a very big glass pane on the front of the lens. So if you're using this for solder work, you will get solder fumes on this, and it is really easy to clean this one off. I had one of these, I think it was called Mustech microscopes for a while, and that one would just become totally blind because there's acid in the solder, and it would just eat away on the plastic from the lens, and after that it was broken. What else is there to say about this microscope? It's pretty good from the connection side. It does have a USB output that you can connect to a PC and take live pictures. It does have an HDMI output that you can connect to a monitor, and it will have 1080p video, and that 1080p video is true to 1 pixel. And it does have an analog AV output that is absolutely useless for what I believe, but I might be wrong. And it can, of course, record pictures and video to an SD card, and that is pretty useful too, although I've never used it yet. I just use it for looking at stuff. Right, it does come with a very nice remote control, which has all the important features. Let's take this out of here. Whoops. You can see I've never used this either. It does have zoom in, zoom out. It can increase the brightness of the picture, not the brightness of the pickup. It does have a menu and pretty simple stuff. Also positive about this is the quality of these LEDs. Somebody once told me they were polarized, but they're not. There's no polarization filter in front of these lenses. It would have been good if it was, because then you can actually turn the polarization, and it will make the pickup, the quality of the image, go up quite dramatically. I've thought about adding some here, but in fact you can actually move these around really freely, and you can get to the point where you're seeing what you want to see, and where you have it sharp and in picture and with correct lighting. And lighting like this is important if you want to find pads that were not soldered down correctly, or if you want to find bad solder joints, because then you do have to actually look at the edges of the solders. So yeah, that is the Andonstar, and the second Andonstar, which unfortunately is slightly weather beaten, which is really bad. These are nice things. I really enjoy them. And I also have another microscope that I couldn't find for this video, and is one of those $30 school microscopes that you've probably all seen. And even those are useful. If you have something small like a chip and you want to look at it, you can actually use that. The downside of it is that those microscopes most of the time don't have lighting from the top, but only from the bottom, which for a chip doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so that is my microscope, the one that I use most of the time when I'm at the school at the weekends. I use this for soldering a lot. I use this for reworking stuff. I also sometimes just use it to have a really good look at things, because it's just so versatile. And with the long focal length, it is pretty good to work on things most of the time, even if they're bigger, because you can just get the correct distance between the object and the lens, and you can still get everything in focus. So that is really, really good. Also, the whole frame is very solid. This is quite a hunk of aluminium. I like it, I really do. Oh yeah, and it comes with an additional small remote that is used for power and the lights, and you can dim the lights or make them go brighter, not from the control up here, which is just the monitor, but from a second controller. So once you've focused, you actually can use the second remote to change the illumination without touching the monitor and getting whatever you had out of focus. That is really a bit of afterthought. That was worth it. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing, and they're not that expensive either. They've really come down in price. So yeah, here you go. That's my microscopes. Thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.